The Cronulla Sharks are up next. They kick off the year with the Bunnies, the Eels, the Raiders, the Dragons, the Warriors, and the Bye. 17 games on a more than 7-day turnaround. It's quite cosy of them. They've lost Andrew Fee to retirement, Metcalf and Pele. Aidan Tolman's also retired. They've picked up Sateni Tokamo and Sam Stone Street. Sounds like an NXT name. And Oregon Kafusi. Best 17. Well, Barn, have at it. Go on.
Stone Street's upgraded. He was a bloke that was playing in the underage stuff. But
I can't wait for Andre Chase to sign with the Sharks on a development deal.
Good guy.
Yeah, Franklin Pele, been one I've had raps on for 2 or 3 years. He's gone now, so he's dead to me. Watch him come out for the Dogs and absolutely fucking kill it. Anyway, Kennedy at 1 is a given now that Miller's gone. Katoa and Mulatano, probably, I'd say close.
So,
probably the best
that
wing combination in the fucking competition.
I didn't mention that. That is all but done. Yeah, Lockie
It's
Miller.
done. Yeah, it's signed. It's been official. Been made official by both clubs, so he's gone to Newcastle. Katoa and Mulatano, probably two of the best strike wingers in the comp.
Who'd they send you? Some kid? No, they've sent you someone.
Did they?
I'll find it. Yeah, talk about yourself.
Right.
Probably Greg Martin.
No, it's like a young prop, and I can't.
Yeah, okay. Ramey and Talakawai in the centres. Moylan and Hynes in the halves. Hamlin Uele and Rudolph should be starting props. Brayley at 9. Nakora Graham in the back row, and then I'd be playing McGuinness at 13, but I dare say they'll be playing Finnegan at 13 because they like the impact that McGuinness has off the bench when they're a little bit tired. Looks to me like Tracy's probably going to be the 14. Can play a bit of centre, a bit of halves, probably even jump back into fullback if he has to. McGuinness in the 15, Oregon Kafusi in the 16, and Royce Hunt in the 17. Not a massive pack, but a whole heap of bunch of workers, and they've got good leg speed and all the rest of it. You saw how they played all last year, and it's not going to change too much, I would imagine, because the side hasn't changed too much. So,
Max Bradbury, New South Wales under-19 prop is who you got in return.
Nice, good. Well, we do need a bit of size, so hopefully he's a big young fella that we can put into the middle there. But
so, I agree with you. I would be having Finucane play in the middle and have McGuinness lock the scrum and trying to get 80 minutes out of him. Well, not trying to, getting 80 minutes out of him. What you see is what you get. This is a weird one to analyse because what really changes?
Yeah, a couple of guys have probably left out of that 17. You got Ikevala, who could probably start somewhere in most teams. Teague Wilton, Jack Williams are both handy back row replacements, and you've got Trindle there as a backup half, but there's not a lot else to speak of outside of that.
Look, so big year for Matt Moylan.
Absolutely.
He started well enough last year, at least looked good.
It's probably his best year for quite a while.
Whatever. He's on borrowed hamstrings, I suppose. So
knees and ankles
and whatever else. But he had his best year for a while, and it goes to show the value of getting some decent forwards in, I suppose.
Mm-hmm.
But do I think he's a 5'8" that can win a comp? No. Nicho is now going to be... Well, Nicho always was the one point of attack. Probably going to be more so hunted now, but...
Oh, yeah, there'll be a lot of pressure on him. They'll be coming at him. But another year in, you got to remember the bloke's only played 12 months as a half. Like I'm sure he's played a bit in the reserve grades coming through, but as a first grade half, and he killed it. So
let's hope played less than 50 first grade games.
That. So yeah, absolutely.
He's up. Optimistic, obviously.
Yeah, absolutely. I think they'll be top 4 minimum, and be in and around. Like I think pretty sure they'll taper at the end of the year, like they didn't do this year, and they were running flat by the time they lost to the Cowboys, and there was nothing left in them, and Souths ran over the top of them as well in the back end of the finals there. But I think there'll be a little bit of changes coming into the finals time, but the lack of size in the middle is one big concern for me. I think they do need someone to replace you for Feeders and Tolmans. I know they weren't setting the world on fire, but it's that big body that does carry 2 people, and you get that, either get a quick play of the ball or you bounce a couple of people off and get that few extra meters in attack. They're going to play exactly the same way as they played last year. They're going to rely on their leg speed, both in defence and attack. They're rolling through the middle, getting in behind the defensive line, getting quick play of the ball so that it gets them a start, gets them on the front foot. Nicho plays really well on the front foot, being able to hit his wingers and whatever with a retreating defence. And the same thing with their line speed in defence. They get up, jam, try to get them before they get a roll on, and slow the opposition's attack that way. Cowboys are going to do the same stuff, but we'll get to them when we get there. They play pretty much the same game plan, realistically. Really strong defence systems that you saw how much it changed from the 1 year that Fitzgibbon was there, and now he's got another full year with him. So I expect them to be one of the better defensive teams in the competition. Hynes' second-year syndrome. Does he continue on? Does the pressure get to him at different times? Teams are going to be targeting him. You'll have blokes coming at him inside and out. So how he deals with that and the game planning around it. As you mentioned, the points of attack are slightly limited. That's why I would be playing someone like McGuinness at 13 that gives you an extra ball player out there. Graham's ball playing days don't seem as much as they used to be. He used to rely on a bit of leg speed and then being able to draw people in and that kind of stuff.
25-year-old Wade Graham probably plays 5'8".
Yeah, he'd be playing. Yeah, he probably would be. Yeah. But Kennedy's under pressure. He's going to be pivotal in their backline movements. As you saw, when he comes off, he's fantastic. A lot of times he gets pressured. They get up on him fast, and he gets the fumbles. He makes a few mistakes. We'll see how he improves, if he improves or he regresses after this year. But, I really would like to see another point of attack in either the back rowers. I know Nakora is a really good line runner, but I'd love to see him develop a short pass or an offload that, brings in Uramians and that type, and, your inside supports with Kennedy just to add that little bit extra in attack. But I think that's what limits them from being a real competition threat. Yep. I think they're going to be top 4. They're going to be better than most teams or competitive with anyone on their day. But I think they're lacking that little bit of X factor.
I will get Jelly, but I just want to raise a quick question. If there is that extra pressure on Nicho and they don't get out off to a flyer and we see Kennedy a little bit exposed, do we see Cade Dykes, KL Iro, something like that? Yeah. There's another point of difference.
I think Dykes would be the first one.
Because I know they got raps on him.
Really,
I think they got big raps on
really
Iro
smooth
too. But
mover. Has played a bit of halves as well. Yeah. So that goes to the ball playing.
What is their halves cover? Connor Tracy. Oh, Trindle.
Connor Tracy, Trindle. Yeah. So Trindle's more of a game controlling half with the kicking game, and he's a little bit of a slower player, whereas Tracy's relies more on footwork and speed. So they've sort of got a 6 and a 7 cover. It's not to the same level of what's in the first grade team, obviously, but they do have cover there. I really would have liked to see him hang on to Lockie Miller. As you heard me say at the back end of last year, I think he's probably a better option at 6 than Moylan is, but
I'm going to sound like a broken record here, but I do think Miller would have been the best option to put with Hynes this year. A lot of it as well due to that possible second-year syndrome. I think if you put Miller with Hynes doesn't need to change too much to keep defences guessing, because when you become the Dalian Player of the Year, teams are going to start planning for you and how to stop you. We saw that with Tom Trbojevic at the start of last year before he got injured.
You've got a bloke who's lightning and got footwork on the other side of you.
Yeah, someone who's unpredictable, who can use as an option at times to create that unpredictability and then strike with what Hynes has been doing all this time, then it literally would have been perfect, because Hynes would not have had to change a thing. But Moylan's going to start out the year. Moylan's obviously under a lot of pressure, because I can see a situation if he's not up to scratch 3 weeks in and Trindle comes in. I can see Moylan and Trindle coming in and out of the side all year if things don't go how Cronulla's planned and how I'm expecting them to go, because I think top 4 is also a minimum. I've spoken before about my expectations for Cronulla, mainly before Miller was let go, but I'm sticking to it for now. And I think as well, Kaufusi is a big signing, just the defensive record that Cronulla had last year and his individual defensive output when coming off the bench for Parramatta. I feel like he is a big positive signing for Cronulla. If only there was 2 of him. If only you could clone him or just get someone else.
As I said on the Supercoach show, he feels like a Cronulla player.
I feel
like he's like tailor-made.
And I think the thing is as well, if there was, you had one more, as I said, clone him, but like if you had one more forward like him, that's probably all they need, just one more forward sort of like him, and you've got your Nakoras and your Rudolphs in there as well. It does get a little light when you get to the bench, I think, because Graham's not getting any younger. I do have McInnes starting at lock as well. I'll just double check. I've got Finucane on the bench because I have Kaufusi starting, because I've just given a lot. I don't think it will be at the start of the season, but I feel like we could see that eventually if he does play to the level that I'm expecting him to play at and sort of gel with that Cronulla forward pack as I am expecting him to. I feel like a prop.
As a prop.
As a prop. With Rudolph as the other prop as well.
Ueli coming off the bench.
Yeah, okay. And I've got my second rowers as Nakora and Talakai because I've got Mulatalo playing in the centres and I've got Ikavalu starting.
Ikavalu on the wing. Yeah.
Ikavalu and Katoa.
You talked about having an extra point difference in attack, and they've got quite an obvious one, which for some reason they decided not to use for the last 3 months or last year. But getting good, clean early ball to Talakai might be a nice change of plans. Instead of just using him as they basically used him as a
front row.
I was going to say 6 forward, but basically a third front row a lot of the time. Yeah. And apparently we're about to get pissed on from a great height. Looking at the radar. But so look, he had that one game which got him an Origin jersey against Manly. But
and then he had a couple of off games, and then they just stopped going to him for the rest of the year.
So it would be something interesting to bring back.
Strange.
I would suggest
I'm
maybe
sure
trying
they'll go there. Yeah.
But they've got strength across the field. They are, at the end of the day, a lot of teams like strike centres. They've got 2 of them, 2 centres with big bodies, footwork,
2 strike
strength.
wingers as well.
So they've got every base covered. They're going to be in and around the top 4, I agree. And some astute signings in a team that didn't need to really change a lot. So, and obviously, and they've upgraded quite a few youngsters. So they must your Dykes, Iros, Colquhoun,
Hazelton.
So I guess we'll see more.
Well, he's
of them
not
as we
really
get
a
on.
youngster, but yeah.
Any final words, boys?
Top 4 at a minimum, I think.
Yep.
I've got Graham, Moyland, and Rudolph probably under pressure. I think there's a few players there that Kafusi could end up taking Rudolph's spot if he because he was up for a lot of the year, but there was a good period there for about 6 weeks where he was quite under par, and I think we mentioned it a few times. Moyland as well, but I'm not sure. Tracy probably could take that position, but I'm not sure there's anyone there that knocking down the door to get him out. And Graham's definitely under pressure in that back row with the likes of Wilton and Jack Williams on the outer of the 17 that could come in and take his spot.
It's 1 year left.
Yeah,
I think
he's
only
signed a
1 year extension.
Well, this will be it anyway.
I
he's already doing triple. He's already doing media. He's already.
I think he came out publicly as well and said he wanted to do.
I think he wants a year
England.
in France.
With the Catalans because I think they offered him a deal last year, and he said he wants 1 more year at Cronulla. Then he'll. So I think he's agreed in principle to go there.
Something you'd mention is about the tapering, and we saw last year, and I spoke about it in review shows, the under-pressure coaches and the new coaches tend to have their teams a lot more forward.
Yeah.
It happened with Brisbane. They came out strong and looked like, as you know, I tipped them to win the comp after 10 rounds. And the fuel gauge ran out very quickly. Fitzgibbon, I think, will be better for the run. He'll taper that better. And like you said, they ran out of fuel.
I don't even think he was too far off. I remember mentioning about 3 games in, I'd be given Nicho a rest, I'd be given Nakora a rest, I'd be given such and such a rest, and he didn't do it. And then I think it came back to bite him, and I think you'll find they may drop a game or 2 at the back end of this year, which will stop them finishing top sort of 2 or 3, and they might finish 4th or 5th, but they'll be better for it come finals time. So.
Yeah, and I think it's a key thing, and I think we'll see the same with other clubs. I think O'Brien and Holbrook will have their team very forward because they have to win the first. If they don't win the first 5 games,
careers on the line. Yeah.
So I can see that coming up, and I think Fitzgibbon. And like I said, he's only 2 games off. He'll time that better.
Well, if they win that game against the Cowboys, they go real close to winning the comp, and they got beaten by a field goal.
Get the week off would have been massive. Absolutely.